So what's this about then? So I'm an Orthodox Christian. Now you've turned up at my house because I went and see my priest. So I'm going to get you all on film because this is going straight to my solicitor. So what's the issue?
So it was just to, people have raised concerns.
What concerns?
About your views.
What views? Because this is religious discrimination right now,
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany.
Allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still, which of course brings us back to Munich.
Free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
More than 50 similar raids played out, part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany.
What's going on, guys? We got to talk about CBS fake news absolutely humiliating themselves. This is in addition to that humiliating debate where they tried to falsely fact check J.D. Vance and carry water for tampon Tim Walz. Now you have them playing a segment where woke anchor Margaret Brennan tries to catch Marco Rubio in some sort of foolish gotcha that fails miserably. She falls flat on her face like she always does. And then immediately after playing a segment proving J.D. Vance's and Marco Rubio's point about how there is an attack on free speech in European countries, they literally record a segment of 60 minutes where Germans literally break into people's houses. They conduct raids for people that post racist memes, whatever the hell that means. That could mean you just criticize a particular race. They are going after people who post anti-feminist stuff, anti-LGBTQ stuff, anything that they deem as hate. Bear in mind, these are the same people who believe that X is a hate-riddled platform because you say that men should not play in women's sports. They consider calling a transgender woman a man to be hate speech. So you can't trust anything that these people say. I'm going to show you a quick clip from J.D. Vance for those who haven't seen it to know what the hell I'm talking about here.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail, whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news.
So after J.D. Vance gave this speech, this dude literally cried because of how upset that he was about JD Vance calling him out for how bad his country is with upholding their own constitutions and laws.
This conference started as a transatlantic conference. After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore. I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky. Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Beta!
What a freaking beta male. Like, this is the type of stuff, and these are the type of leaders who we don't need. This is why you got to be careful. Why you got to have, if you have female leaders, you got to have strong female leaders. There's stronger female leaders in America than this dude. You got people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She seems like she's great. I ain't never seen her cry over no BS over being criticized. You know how much Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been criticized? And I ain't never seen her cry because she got criticized over something. This guy's a little pussy. He shouldn't be leading a damn thing. But I'm going to go ahead and react to Margaret Brennan real quick, chatting with Marco Rubio, because she had the audacity to try to say that, well, Hitler used free speech in order to control. Like, she said the stupidest thing. Let's just go ahead and react to this.
And so I think if anyone's angry about his work, they don't have to agree with him, but to be angry about it, I think actually makes his point. I thought it was actually a pretty...
They wasn't just angry, they was crying.
Historic speech, whether you agree with him or not. I think the valid points he's making to Europe is we are concerned that the true values that we share, the values that bind us together with Europe, are things like free speech and democracy and our shared history in winning 2 world wars and defeating Soviet communism and the like. These are the values that we shared in common. And in that Cold War, we fought against things like censorship and oppression and so forth. And when you see backsliding
it's a new day,
and you raise that, that's a very valid concern. We can't tell them how to run their countries. He simply expressed in a speech his view of it, which a lot of people frankly share. And I thought he said a lot of things in that speech that needed to be said. And honestly, I don't know why anybody would be upset about it. People are allowed, you know, you don't have to agree with someone's speech. I happen to agree with a lot of what he said, but you don't have to agree with someone's speech to at least appreciate the fact they have a right to say it, and that you should listen to it and see whether those criticisms are valid. I assure you, the United States has come under withering criticism on many occasions from many leaders.
And what's crazy is they criticize the United States openly on a regular basis, but all of a sudden JD Vance has something to say. You know, they've been demanding that he apologize.
I understood him correctly. He compares the condition of Europe with the condition that prevails in some authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not acceptable.
JD Vance should say, this is what I have to say to y'all. Like, that's what JD Vance should do, because F them. They know that they're effing up over there. Again, leader on the TV crying like a little B word.
In Europe, and we don't go around throwing temper tantrums about it.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups.
There's nothing about what this fool, dummy, idiot said that makes any sense. Like, look at the stupid look on her face. Does this look like a person who's thinking rationally and making a valid point? Free speech to weapon that. This doesn't make any sense. Any leader who's in charge is going to have their own rhetoric, and they're going to levy it, and their followers are going to basically parrot and mimic that same type of rhetoric and thought process. It doesn't matter what type of laws you have in place or anything like that. She's basically arguing literally in favor of censored speech. She's arguing for censorship. The First Amendment exists for a reason. There's a reason why it's the first damn one. of course, in the United States, but these other nations have free speech laws too. This is how they want America to be, guys. That's what's crazy. They're saying, well, free speech was weaponized in order to create a genocide in Germany. So we need to censor speech there and censor it in America. And I'm telling you, Margaret, hell no. How? I'm trying so hard not to insult this lady some more. Let's keep going.
Standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe, and that's of concern because that is eroding. That's not an erosion of your military capabilities. That's not an erosion of your economic standing. That's an erosion of the actual values that bind us together in this transatlantic union that everybody talks about. And I think allies and friends and partners that have worked together now for 80 years should be able to speak frankly to one another in open forums. Without being offended, insulted, or upset. And I spoke to foreign ministers from multiple countries throughout Europe. Many of them probably didn't like the speech or didn't agree with it, but they were continuing to engage with us on all sorts of issues that unite us. So, again, at the end of the day, I think that, people give all... That is a forum in which you're supposed to be inviting people to give speeches, not basically a chorus where everyone is saying the exact same thing. That's not always going to be the case when it's a collection of democracies where leaders have the right and the privilege to speak their minds in forums such as these.
Well, Rubio, they clearly don't want opposition to be spoken. They want people to parrot the same things. Polly want a cracker. That's what they want people to say. They want people to be like little mimes, doing the same stupid stuff. They want it to be monkey see, monkey do. They don't want you to think and move freely. There's a reason why these people were literally trying to target Elon Musk because they did not want the platform to have free speech on X. They wanted to take X down. They were targeting the advertisers. Now, I want to go ahead and also react to this follow-up here, the part where they actually made themselves look stupid. Because it was proven, they actually did some investigative journalism over there in CBS. If it was one thing about CNN fake news, if it was CNN, they probably wouldn't have did anything. They would have just said that what JD Vance said was false. He's just making stuff up like the Republicans always do. Let's not forget he's Donald Trump's right-hand man, and he wants a promotion, he wants that endorsement, so he's just going to say anything. That's what CNN fake news would do, and MSDNC would say it was some sort of Klan type of conversation, or it was some sort of dog whistle for white supremacists or something. But with free speech means white supremacy. This is the type of stupid stuff that they say. But CBS actually did a bit of investigative journalism here. They actually went over and interviewed some prosecutors from Germany, and apparently they go after people for free speech all the freaking time, and they seem to be happy about it as well. Let's take a look at that.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Pause for a second, and apologies. I have to pause when there's heavy likelihood of copyright material being flagged by YouTube. So 60 Minutes is one of those places, so you have been warned. But I actually had a Twitter account. Originally, I was doing gaming, okay? So when I was doing that, I would go on Twitter, and I would see folks on the left just completely bully and harass the hell out of like right-wing type of podcasters and YouTubers and Twitch streamers and stuff. I mean, they would tell them to off themselves. I mean, they would call them every day in the book racist, fascist, sexist, bigot, white supremacist, you freaking name it. And Twitter would never take that stuff down. Never take it down. It would be like thousands of comments. But then if somebody on the right say, hey, men, there's only two genders, men and women. We don't want to see men playing in women's sports. They would flag it immediately and take it down. So these people don't have an issue with people hurling insults at people. It's only when people on the right do it. It's never been this equal thing where they're talking to people on the left and the right. It always turns into partisanship. It doesn't matter what the policies say. It doesn't matter what the leaders say. These people are liars and they cannot be trusted. And I don't know how loudly from the freaking rooftops and how many videos I need to make in order to prove that point, but I don't care if it's a damn million videos. I'm going to keep doing it. Let's keep going.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
That sticks around forever.
Yeah.
This is something where you can literally get fines, and guess what happens when you don't pay fines? You get arrested. By definition, when they're trying to say, oh, we're not arresting people, false. They literally will arrest you if they charge you fines and you don't pay them. They're not just gonna not do anything forever. Eventually, they're gonna come after you and be like, hey, look, you haven't been paying your fine. You owe $100,000 because of posting memes online. We're taking your ass to jail.
Somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it. Are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it.
So who determines what is true information versus who determines what is false information? If I say masks do not mother effing work, I mean, would I get fines for that? Like, as a matter of fact, I already know the answer. Yes, they were fining people for that. This is something that they have been doing. As a matter of fact, in the United States, they want us to do that too. They just didn't happen to be able to get away with it because we have First Amendment here as our literal First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States.
It's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders.
What I tell you.
But it's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany. In most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices. How do people react when you take their phones from them?
they are shocked.
So they're removing people's ability to communicate as well. Taking phones, like what is this, middle school?
Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online.
Guys, what the hell does that even mean? You got people, imagine somebody shows up at your house. Police, open the door. Right? They show up at your house and you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, you asleep? Don't got nothing but underwear on, if that. You show up at the door, what's going on? They just shove you to the side like, I smell racism in here, right? Like they look and they see a white person and they're like, it's like they're automatically, they just know that it's true. And they just take your laptop and your phone. Like, look, I've seen enough of this, guys. This is just pure foolery. I can't believe this is still happening in places in the world. I can't believe these people had the audacity to go after, we had the whole Vietnam War. You had the whole Soviet Union. I mean, there's all of these different regimes throughout history that other nations, including, the United States, of course, have condemned for communism or things similar to communism. Hell, sometimes they even talk about it now, how there's like attacks, like they talk about Russia and the dictator Putin and all of this stuff. They talk about all of this stuff, but then these are the things that are promoted. Or if you speak out against it, in the case of J.D. Vance, they try to act like J.D. Vance is wrong. And one dude literally crying like a little pussy because J.D. Vance hurt his feelings. This is just sad and pathetic. CBS embarrassed themselves by even showing this segment. This should not have been aired. Like, they should have not brought Brennan on. I don't know why they feel like they have to respect Margaret Brennan. It's probably just she's been around for a long time. Maybe somebody somewhere likes her. I don't effing know who, but it's also got to be some other freaking weirdos, because there's nothing likable about Brennan. She's not attractive. She makes stupid faces. She says stupid things. She's not smart. There's nothing positive about Brennan. Get rid of this bitch. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you agree with Brennan? Am I crazy? Am I just another just ignorant black person? Or do you agree with JD Vance and Rubio, people who obviously appear to be individuals who have actual intelligence and respect certainly the United States Constitution, but also want to prevent the world at large from devolving into a communistic state in which they will no doubt try to infect the United States with as well? Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Stop being such a pussy!